We want to talk about scene analysis. We want to talk about her understanding of script, and then we want to understanding of story, and therefore of character, and how her part plays in the movie called Steve Jobs, which is really, I think, really a Kate Winslet's film. The second thing we're going to talk about is we want to talk about character, and this unbelievably amazing character, two parts of character, which is her character, like how she does what she does, but also her characterization, because she's playing this Polish woman, and she has Polish ethic or character like down, like she just has it down, like the fix it with her hand and stuff. And so it's not, I want to talk about voice, accent, physicality and stuff in character. And then the last thing is what we want to talk about is her camera work or non-camera work, which I think is really important. Are you all with me? Kate Winslet in this monologue is everything you need to know about acting all in one big swoop. Dance. And then watch the defiance right here.
Fix it or I quit. How about that? I quit and you never see me again. How about that?
There, and look at that defiance right there. Oh, so good. Kate Winslet right there is using the two conversations her character is, and she knows it, which is the way to get to Steve Jobs is to talk about success. Steve Jobs would not be success without her. She's been there thick and thin, and I think is one of the only, well, Hertzfeld too, but one of the only employees that's like stuck with him, because he's this monstrously arrogant, outrageously condescending genius who offends everybody, but she's been able to like weather it without letting it get to her soul so much, right? What's been wrong with me for 19 years? I've been a witness, and I tell you, I've been complicit. That's act one. There's the hypothesis, right, for the monologue. There's the setup. What's been wrong with me for 19 years? I've been a witness, and I tell you I've been complicit. 1, 2, 3. She's like, it's been 19 years. I've been a witness to this shit, and I've also been complicit because I've never done anything about it until now. So that's her, yes, there's act one of the monologue. Act one of the monologue is there. 1, 2, 3. And then if you need to see, there's 1, right? And then there's 2, and then there's 3. So that's act 1. Act 2 is, I love you, Stephen. You know how much. I love that you don't care how much money a person makes. You care what they make, right? There's the act 1 of act 2. So that's act 2A. Act 2B, but what you make isn't supposed to be the best part of you. When you're a father, that's what's supposed to be the best part of you, right? And then act 3 is, and it's caused me 2 decades of agony, Steve, that it is for you the worst. So the worst part of him is being a father. So that's the second act of the monologue. And then the third act is, it's a little thing, it's a small thing, just fix it, otherwise you can, never see me again. And then she drops her threat, which is a serious threat. So the irony of the monologue, of course, it's a monologue that's about love, and it's about being a good father, right? When you're being a father, that's supposed to be the best part of you. It's about family, fatherhood, and love. But as she wins the scene, she actually ends with, however, I'm really successful. And that's the counterpoint in the scene, because the two conversations in the scene are success and love, or humanity, or compassion, or family.
About that, I quit and you never see me again.
How she takes a breath and a shift in the conversations.
Tell me what's wrong with you this morning.
Act 1.
What's been wrong with me for 19 years? I've been a witness, and I tell you, I've been complicit.
Act 1, end. And now back to, that's why we've cut. That's why Danny Boyle has filmed Fassbender in the first act. We set up the premise. Now let's get to the meat of it. Here's act 2.
You know how much. I love that you don't care how much money a person makes. You care what they make. But what you make isn't supposed to be the best part of you. When you're a father, that's what's supposed to be the best part of you. And it's caused me 2 decades of agony, Steve, that it is for you. The worst.
And end of act 2. Well, that cost her. See that? The whole act cost her.
It's a very small thing. Fix it. Fix it now. Or you can contact me at my new job, working anywhere I want.
So we've got...
I don't happen to think it is a little deal. She knew that I bought the house for...
I hate stopping the scene. It's so
Tell
good.
me what's wrong with you this morning.
So what we've got is we've got a 3-act structure. We've got Act 1, where Boyle actually keeps the camera on Fassbender as the premise is being set, which is an interesting choice. We were seeing Fassbender go down and try to repair things, but he's literally getting down on his knees and genuflecting to her truth. So I guess that's kind of the metaphor. I kind of wish we just did on Kate Winslet because she's amazing, but you can hear also that she takes like a beat in there. And then Act 2, she's telling her truth, which is you suck as a dad. I love you, but you suck. And then Act 3 is fix it. So Act 1 is, look, I'm complicit in this too, so it's got to end now. Act 2 is I love you, but you're a schmuck. And then Act 3 is get your shit together. And she takes big sections between that. Now, listening, but he's listening from a Steve Jobsian kind of place, which means he's analyzing it and trying to digitalize it and try to compartmentalize and make sense of it, because the man lives with his brain, not his heart. So I think his listening is actually straight on character, which is why it's so good. Now, that's the structure. Nice. I think the structure she nails. I love the fact that there's been 19 years of watching him be a shitty dad, and she finally gets it out. The worst, that's a big thing to say to somebody, and she really lands the word worst, but the worst part of you is that you're a terrible father. And it costs her to say that. There's this, okay, I finally got that out after 20 years, you know? And now, that moment of, to me, in this, at the end of the second act, is born of the emotional relationship she has with Steve Jobs. That's one of the next things I want to talk about what Kate Winslet's doing, which is, the relationship she has with him is so specific and so real and so gorgeous, and I think so hard to play, because it's a unrequited, non-romantic love. She loves him, and she says, I love you, and she means I love you, and she sticks with him in the movie. She sticks with him through thick and thin, and she's his touchstone to the reality of being a human being. But it's not a sexual love. It's not a romantic love. So it has a kind of a sibling love to it, but it's not that either. It's like this intense friendship, respect. And she clearly, there is no other person who's important to her, but it's not she wants to be married to him. She definitely does not want to be married to him or be his lover. But it is familial. So I think it's such a difficult relationship to play. I'd say it's not romantic or sexual. It's not even friendship. It's like a fabric, and you can feel it between the two of them. And she's really good at portraying that. So she has really done her research on the specificity of what that relationship is. There's a disdain, and she's slapping him on the head, but you also know that it's kind of it's an ultimatum that has a little bit of no teeth to it. And you can see in the third act of the scene when she realizes, which I wanted to watch as well, but when she realizes that, oh my God, she just let slip the fact that Hertzfeld paid for Harvard and Jobs didn't know, that she's like, oh shoot, I just opened up the floodgates to the devil, you know? And interestingly is, if you analyze the entire scene, she loses the scene, because Act 1 is, we're doing amazing, we're gonna make lots of money, sales are gonna be high. Act 2 is she says, go fix your daughter. And then Act 3 is she kind of blows it with the realization she wasn't meant to give him. And you can see the nasty Steve Jobs come out, and it ends with him calling her Yentl, which is so deeply offensive. Let's talk about her character for a little bit. So she's playing this Polish woman. It's so wonderful to me because her accent's impeccable from what I can tell. I'm not Polish, but I work with lots of Polish people. I think she's like, it's so good. But it's not accent. There's a cultural history to how she speaks and how she works. And so there's a character inside of the accent itself. You can hear when Kate Winslet's talking, her mother and her grandmother and like this Polish generations. And there's a way of loving but being tough, and being sensitive inside but being tough on the outside. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so, I don't know, there's something so poignant about her. Her strength that's on top of her vulnerability. I love that. So there's this characterization, and she's very like even though she's his age, she's almost motherly with him. And when she gets strong, she gets really empowered, and that to me has got this East European feel to it. So clearly, Kate Winslet studied not just accent, but she studied what is the cultural motivation, intention, and power that women like this would bring to a relationship like that. And then my last point, which I think is so obvious and very easy, is that Kate Winslet has no care whatsoever for what the camera is doing. If you should go, we don't have time obviously, but you should go to YouTube and watch the scene a bunch of times. Watch it over and over, the entire scene. There is like 15 different camera setups or 30 different camera setups. Like this scene must have been shot over like a week. It's like a good chunk of the movie. But there are cameras moving, that they cross axis. In the third act, they cross axis. That's when she realizes she made the mistake. The camera just goes jump and jumps over, has a documentary feel. And she's so consistent between each shot, and he as well. But there's a real through line. So she is deeply embedded in the architecture of the scene. She clearly knows who her character is. She knows what her relationship is. She's obviously, as you can see, emotionally prepared to the yang. She's pushing that down. She's finding her power. And then she's just letting it play across all the takes. And be damned to the camera. You can tell she has no idea where the camera is. It doesn't matter. The camera's moving all over the place. And there's tons of cameras. There's probably multiple cameras going. It's a performance that's being caught. That's great acting. So we kind of learned everything you need to know about from acting from Kate Winslet in that scene, which is commit to your character, understand the script, know your scene analysis, know your structure, focus on your partner, emotionally be prepared, surrender and let things happen. In the second act is probably an accident that occurred. Let those accidents occur because you're so set up for what's going to happen, and then let the cameras roll and let them find your truth. I think it's absolutely fabulous example of what acting is all about.